we have the Shafi'i school of thought, we have the Hanbali school of thought. Some people will just jump to the question, why sometimes we have some difference between the Hanafi and the Shafi'i? What for? We say that the difference came because of the understandings of a religious text. And usually the example that comes usually to my mind is wiping the hair when we do our ablution, the Muslim do the ablution. There is a certain method, for example, that will wipe part of the head. There is another method, the Hanafi, will wipe the whole head. From where it comes this? There is a certain verse in the Holy Quran, وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ. There is no problem. The ba, this is a letter, there is no pen actually. The ba, so yeah, so the this ba, وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ, this ba is a proposition in Arabic, which could mean whole, which could mean some. You will tell me how come. It should be like, I see this is the Arabic language. This is how the Arabs speak that language. Sometimes they use this proposition, which means, thank you, which means whole or which means some. So some scholars give the understanding that this proposition ba means whole. Another scholar thinks that this ba means some. So he say وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ means part of the head. Another one will say no, whole. But this doesn't make a big difference or a big issue. But anyway, this is for your understanding that we have four main schools of thought. Of course, there are many other scholars, great scholars, same like Abu Hanifa, same like Ahmad ibn Hanbal or Imam Shafi'i. But these madhahib were overwhelmed by the famous four mazahib. Why? Because the students of those great scholars, Abu Hanifa, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, they take their knowledge and they try to spread it. So when you ask, I am here, I am teaching here, the other students teaching here, when you ask me from where, oh, this is Imam Abu Hanifa said this. Oh, another students who spread, they say no, Imam Shafi'i said that. But there are many great scholars who also have certain opinions. The disappearance of these mazahib does not imply their ineffectiveness. Muslim libraries still cherish the outstanding works of many great scholars like Ibn Abi Layla, Al-Awza'i, Sufyan al-Thawi, and many other great scholars. We have also what we call the Shia Mazhab. The Shia Mazhab. And the Shia is an Arabic word which means partisanship. It was first used by a section of Muslims who attached themselves to Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, the fourth caliph, and a cousin of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Shia Mazhab did not take any concrete shape of any legal bearing until after the death of Ali radiallahu anhu. Because there is no Shia during the time of the Prophet, or Abu Bakr, or Uthman, or Umar, or even during the time of Ali, as a legal concept, or have any legal differences from the mainstream Islam. There is no. Even during the time of Hussein radiallahu anhu. It's only later, after the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, they start to have their own way of thinking, and there are some differences with the mainstream Islam or the Sunni Islam. With the exception of the Shia concept of the infallibility of the Imam or the Caliph, which the Sunni basically reject, and the differences in authentication of some hadith traditions of the Prophet ﷺ due to some subjective political elements, there is no great difference between the two major schools of thought. So legally speaking, we have what the people know, even in the newspapers or the media, the Sunni and the Shia. Basically, they agreed about many things. The Quran with the Shia is the same like the Quran with the Muslims. But there is, for example, the concept of infallibility of the Imam. The Shia believe that the Imam or the Caliph is infallible, he will not make any mistake. But the mainstream Islam, the Sunni Islam say no. As long as a human being is a human being, he can make mistakes. It's only the Prophet who is infallible, because Allah will correct him. He has a revelation from God. But any human being after that, He can make mistakes, even an imam or a khalifa or whatsoever. So this is the basic difference between the two schools of thought. Of course, also the traditions of the Prophet. Some traditions you might find it with the Shia, which the Sunni will not agree upon them. And the same thing, you might find some similarities, some hadiths, both on the same schools of thought. But you'll find a lot of differences. Because as I say, recording the traditions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, it has been done after 2 generations or 3 generations. So you might have some differences. People might trust that narrator or that person. The other people will say, no, it's not from our side. We do not trust this. I will trust the other people. So these are some differences between the two. The Sharia legislations mentioned in the Quran and the Sunnah are regarded as divinely ordained, concrete, and timeless for all relevant situations. For example, the ban on all kinds of intoxicants. This is all the time. Laws of marriage or divorce and principles of justice and equality among mankind. These are general principles which everybody will agree upon them. So, just 2 examples of these eternal teachings of the Sharia, like in the Holy Quran. O mankind, indeed, we have created you from male and female and made you peoples and tribes, that you may know one another. So, people are different nationality, different races, yet Allah created them like that, so they might come to each other, knows the differences between them and the others, not to fight with one another, no, to know each other. Indeed, the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you. This is a general thing. If you are good, if you are righteous, if you have good manners, you are more near and closer to Allah than another person who has doing bad things. Indeed, Allah is knowing and known. There is another verse in the Holy Quran, just as an example. Indeed, Allah commands you to render trusts to whom they are due, and when you judge between people, to judge with justice. Anybody will have differences with this? When you judge among the people, you should judge with justice. Anybody, anywhere in the whole world, whatever the religions will agree to that. When you judge among the people, judge with justice. Be just. The Sharia is also flexible. Just take one example about the hijab. The hijab or the veil of a Muslim woman. There is a certain verse in the Holy Quran about the hijab. O Prophet, namely, say to your wives and your daughters and the women of the believers that they let down upon them their overgarments. This will be more proper that they may be known, and thus they will not be given trouble. And Allah is forgiving, merciful. So in this verse, Allah entrusts the Prophet, or asks the Prophet, peace be upon him, to tell the believing women that they should cover themselves, and the Prophet, peace be upon him, clarified this, that a woman should cover herself except the hands and the face. So this is the main rule. What's the flexibility? Is that if you go to Africa, you will have the women covering themselves, but in different way from Turkey, for example, or from China. So this is the flexibility. The rule is there, that the woman should cover herself, except the hands and the face. But how it is? Should be white color, or black, or white, or should be like that, or should be like that? This is different according to the traditions and how the people will it. This is the flexibility. The rule is there, but it's flexible. The scope of the Sharia. We have in the Sharia matters related to God-human relationship, which is covered under the ibadah, which we mentioned some of them at the beginning: salah, Sawm, zakah, sadaqah, and so on. We have matters related to human relationships, covered under the mu'amalat, contracts, social life, politics. This is what the Sharia covered, the relationship between Allah and the human being, and between human being and human being. Also the actions, or what the person do. We have certain categories for that. Virtue and vice, good and evil, cannot be rationally determined. For God alone knows what's absolutely good and evil. Sometimes we like a thing which is bad for us, and sometimes we hate something which is good for us. So it's only God who tells us what's good and what's wrong. That's why the human actions are classified into certain categories. We have something, the halal, that Muslims are allowed to do. We have something haram, which Muslims are not allowed to do. We have something which was called mustahab, desirable. If you do it, you will be rewarded. We have something called makruh, and desirable, that you should try to avoid. And we have some other categories. The main features of the Sharia is that it's designed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who's the creator of human being, and He knows what's good for them and what's bad for them. It governs state and citizens both. So the rules apply to the state, apply to the ruler, and apply to the people. It's suitable for all times and places. It's practical as it covers the spiritual and worldly side of human life. It does not deal, as we say, that you come to the masjid and you pray and then you go out and that's all. No, there are certain things that deals, or the Islamic law deals with outside the masjid. About marriage or divorce, as we mentioned, about politics, about economy, and so on. There are five basic things that the Islamic law tries to protect: life, religion, intellect, wealth, and honor. Any violation of those was considered a punishable crime. Islam stands strongly against any threat towards any of these five priorities in man's life. So anybody, for example, a certain person, somebody come and kill him, and it has been clear that he killed him with all intention and he has taken all measures to kill him. So if this is the case, he will be killed. You kill somebody and you take the soul of somebody, so this person, a killer, will be killed. If all the procedures and investigation was taken and it's proven that that person killed another person, and so on. We have the penal law in the Sharia. We have what we call had or hudud. Hudud, crimes which prescribe punishment mentioned in the Quran. And we have what we call ta'zir. Ta'zir means crimes and punishments defined by the judge. Hudud defined in the Quran, we have hudud for zina, or adultery, or qazf. Qazf, false accusation of adultery. Somebody came and say, oh, this lady or that man is an adulterer, he commit adultery. No proof. You will be punished for that. Drunkenness. A person drink wine and he become drunk. This is not allowed in Islam. Theft, like I mentioned, for the theft punishment, this hand will be cut if it's proven. And if it's proven and you steal something from a closed place, like for example, this room was closed. You come in and you steal this, for example, laptop from it. If this is the case, you will be punished. You have this punishment. But if this laptop is put outside, beside the mosque, and just you go and leave it, and you come and find somebody steal it, he will not be punished by this punishment. This is a different. So this punishment for cutting the hand is applied for a person who come into a place closed and then he get in or break into that place and get something from it. And there is a certain limit. But suppose, for example, somebody steals because he is hungry, he doesn't have anything to eat, and then he finds something and he takes it. So the punishment will not apply to that person. We have punishment for armed robbery or murder, as I mentioned. If somebody kills somebody by the intention, by all means. So if this is the case, he will be punished and he will be killed also. This usually, the penal law in Islam usually has a lot of controversy and a lot of arguments, and many people, of course, look to it as very, very harsh. Like for example, when I mentioned now that the punishment of theft will be cutting the hand. It's very harsh, and many people during these days will say, "How come this is, very harsh? It's not good." we should try to look at this point. Islam does not aim at cutting the hands of the people or killing them. The punishment can only be applied when the judge is absolutely certain that the convicted person committed the crime. So there should be investigation whether this person committed the crime or not. So the punishment applied as the last resort. The Prophet peace be upon him said, "Idra'u al-hududa bi-shubuhat." So he said, avoid application of hudud where there is doubt. So you bring a person, you say that he is a killer, and he has some doubt there. So he will not apply the had. Like for example, the had of killing is to kill, or to death sentence. So he will not apply this punishment as long as there is some doubt. Okay, you come to the punishment of theft, as I mentioned, cutting the hand. There is certain doubt that this man was hungry, so he will not apply this had to him. There is certain thing, he's hungry, he needs to eat. This will not be applied. There is no doubt that the punishments in the Islamic penal law is so harsh. Yes, it is. However, it should be clear that the punishments are only a part of a vastly larger integrated law. We talk about Islam as at the beginning. You remember we said there is aqidah, there is ibadah, there is akhlaq, good manners. So we should put these punishments within the whole framework. They can neither be properly understood nor successfully or justifiably implemented in isolation. We come to this traditions of Prophet peace be upon him again. Avoid giving hudud, ruling, as far as you can avoid it. The Prophet encouraged us not to apply this hudud if there is another way. If there is another way. When we talk about, we look to the system as a whole. Like for example, this punishment of theft. We say a thief will, his punishment is to cut the hand. We like to look at the Islamic law as a whole. What the Islam say? So, in the Muslim society, if it's really abide by Islam and we apply the Islamic law as a whole, you will not find a person who will need to steal to eat, to feed himself or to feed his family. Why?
We have the problem.
We have the system of zakat, which we mentioned at the beginning. So if the rich man will give his zakat yearly, for sure you will not find a poor person among the Muslim community. Not only this, we have what we call charity or sadaqah, which I mentioned, which is voluntary. Oh, you're a certain Muslim is walking the street and he's really need some help or some money to eat. He will come to you as a Muslim brother and say, brother, can I have just some money to buy a meal for me or buy a meal for me? You will help him and do that in a Muslim community, in a Muslim society. Not only this, a neighbor. There is a certain tradition for the Prophet peace be upon him, which is saying that you cannot sleep with full stomach, or you have your dinner and your neighbor does not have. So even your neighbor, a Muslim neighbor, is beside you and he needs, so you will give him. So there is no need for the Muslim or in the Muslim community to go and break in or steal something, right? If he did this, it means he's really, he's a criminal. He wants to be rich, right? It's not only to feed himself or to feed his family. So if we apply the Islamic law in general, so we do not need to apply this had, for example. We're talking about adultery, or of course Islam avoid these punishments for adultery. Also, adultery has a lot of problems. Or drinking in the United States, statistics speak about many people were killed every year because of drinking, driving while you are drunk. Not only the penal law, we have also diet law and Shariáh. It's necessary to ensure that the physical body is kept healthy so that the soul and spirit may also remain healthy. Diet therefore plays an important role for this purpose. For this reason, Islam has prohibited certain foods due to their ill effects and permitted all other pure, good, and clean food products. There is a verse in the Holy Quran, "O believers, eat of the good and pure things that we have provided for you, and be grateful to God if you truly worship Him." Again, there is another verse in the Quran. So eat of the lawful and good food which Allah has provided for you, and thank the bounty of your Lord if it's Him you serve. He has forbidden for you only dead animals. So a Muslim, if there is a dead animal, he will not eat from this animal. Blood, swine flesh, pork, ham, and all this. And that over which the name of other than Allah has been mentioned. But he who is driven thereto, neither craving nor transgressing, then Allah is forgiving, merciful. So there's certain types of food which Islam does not allow. You cannot eat from an animal which is killed, it's not slaughtered. You cannot eat the swine flesh, or something which people, when they slaughter, they mention another name other than Allah. But suppose there is a certain Muslim that no way except that this kind of food available, or he will die. This is what we call necessity. So he can eat, but he will not eat to fill his stomach. He will eat so he can keep his life going. Suppose there is a person who has been kept in a prison, and the only food that they provide for him is pork. What to do? He can eat, but to keep his life going, not to fill his stomach. This is a kind of necessity. And if this is the case, so Allah is forgiving and merciful. The 4 items that have been mentioned in the above verse are absolutely forbidden in Islam for reasons best known to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, through research, some of them, such as dead animal, blood, swine flesh, have proved to be injurious to human health. Other prohibited items have also been mentioned in different chapters of the Holy Quran. In Surah Al-Ma'idah, for example, the following have also been mentioned, along with the 4 previously mentioned. There are those animals which have been killed by strangling or violent blow, and those which have been partially eaten by wild animal, for those people who live in desert or in rural areas, and were not slaughtered before death. So these are such type of things also. We mentioned that when we talk about Islamic law, we should look to it in general. So Islamic law is not merely penal punishment. No, we have Islamic economics, for example. Islam encourages earning one's living through legal ways. Increasing income will be earned through the economic activities that benefit people. Avoiding behaviors such as gambling, selling of drugs, usury, and fraud will lead to a concentration of productive activities. Islamic financial system is proving to be a successful model these days. There is a verse in the Quran, "O you who believe, be pious to Allah and leave behind what remains of riba, in case you are believers." So, for example, we have the economic system in Islam. We'll talk about this at the coming lecture, but just I like to let you know that there are other things that the Islamic law deals with besides the penal law. Islamic economics. For example, gambling is not allowed in Islam. To hoarding the goods, for example, to keep your goods, your products, till it will become expensive in the market, this is not allowed in Islam. Usury, which is interest, this is not allowed in Islam. There is an economic system in Islam. It's not only the penal system, we have economic system also. We have also the political system in Islam. So for example, Islam gives the right to citizens to choose the ruler, and even to depose him in case he's not doing his job properly. Islam gives rights to religious minorities in Muslim world. Islam demands that the ruler should deal with justice and equity with the citizens. Islam also directs the Muslims to have good manners when engaged in fighting with an enemy, and to respect treaty between them and other countries. So the Islamic political system is there to organize how the Islamic State should deal with other states, how to deal with minorities living in a Muslim country, how the ruler should rule the people, what's the duty of the ruler towards the people, what's the duty of the citizens towards even the ruler. These things are mentioned with religious texts here and there. We should also remember, all in all, when we talk about the Islamic law, that there is a role of righteousness. That we should understand that the law in Islam is not the main or even major vehicle in the total framework for the reinforcement of morality. For example, to steal something, this is very bad. Anybody will tell you it's bad. Whether he's a Muslim or whatever religion he has, or even if he doesn't have a religion, he will say, yes, to steal something is bad. But the Muslim will not steal because he's afraid of the punishment there. But no, there is a role of righteousness, that he knows that Allah is there. Allah is watching over him. It is the individual's belief and his righteousness that make him want to refrain from what displeases Allah and do what pleases him. This is the main thing. If he's really a Muslim, if he really believes in Allah, he has this in his heart, in his consciousness, that Allah is there all the time. He do things to please Allah. He didn't do things because he doesn't like to do something against what Allah asked him. The role of environment also play a very great role in the application of Islamic law. It should be put into our consideration that the whole environment is established where to do right is encouraged and found easy, and to do wrong is discouraged and found difficult. All men and women are helping each other in the Muslim society in abiding by the rules in Islam. They understand that their foremost duty is to aid and commend each other to do good and avoid evil. So the environment among the Muslim individual helped him to abide by the rules in Islam. Not only that he's afraid of any punishment, no. He's conscious, and then the environment around him is helping him out to abide by what Allah has asked him to do or what not to do. Now, if we look, if really the application of Islamic law in the Muslim society, what are the consequences? The Shariah provides Muslim societies with comparatively stable family life, absence of delinquency, low crime rates, much greater freedom from drug and alcoholism, warmth of brotherhood, generosity, and mutual aid and help. This you can find among the Muslim society. And if the Muslim community is the more religious this Muslim community is, the more you will have these consequences apparent before you. And the less you will find these consequences. So if you go to in a Muslim country, the people there are very generous, are very good, are very helpful, are very friendly. The more they are religious, the more you will find these qualities and these characteristics among them. By this we come to the end of our own discussion today, or our presentation. So if you have any question related to this, please feel free to ask. And even if you have general questions, and maybe some of the brothers would like to help in this, inshallah.
I just want to briefly note that in Islam law, the business contract, how is it different from the common law, the contract law? I know that the trust level is much higher in the contract.
But actually, even how to say, when it comes to the contract, I'm really not very familiar with the contracts. But what I should say is that the Muslim should respect what he agreed. When you talk about the contract, or generally speaking?
When you're doing business, you sign contract.
Must sign contract. Yeah. This is must.
Must be in writing.
In writing.
Not in oral.
Not in oral. Even actually, if you will lend somebody money, it must be written. Sorry?
Credit transactions.
Sorry?
Credit transactions.
I'm not familiar with this, but I'm talking generally speaking. If, for example, somebody lends somebody money, there is a verse in the Holy Quran that tells us he must, or this must be done in writing. I'm not really familiar with the trade things, or how these business contracts should be written. But basically speaking, if we talk about the Islamic economics, there is certain rules. You have some idea about this?
No, the contract is the same as a common contract.
Yes.
There is only the aspect of transparency in the Islamic way. Because you cannot hide, for example, when you go to subscribe to insurance policies, they put this small print at the bottom that nobody has the chance to read. And it means they are deceiving you to sign into agreement that you don't understand. And these small prints are not allowed in Islam because you are hiding some aspect of the contract to the people. So transparency is the main aspect in the contract, and it should be written, as the brother mentioned. These are the two aspects that differentiate the contract in Islam and
Then what would be the consequence if the party found that, oh, I feel like I was cheated and it was not transparent? Then can the contract be void?
the contract is void. That's because the moment I try to hide, for example, I'm selling you a mobile phone, which is my job, by the way. If this mobile has some defects, and I hide those defects to you, and then I sell it to you, then it has no value. The sales contract has no value in Islam. You have the right to come and claim back your money. So if you argue with me that because I didn't tell you the defect of the mobile, and then you take me to an Islamic judge, he will grant you the right to get back your money and notify the contract.
Yes.
Sorry.
Please.
In Islamic contract also, the content of the contract has to be Shariáh.
Yes, should be accepted. I mean, for example, you cannot have a contract and to sell something which is prohibited in Islam. All right?
Cannot have contract between you and me to trade in alcohol or pork. I can supply you this quantity of alcohol, is no value.
Yes, transparency is one of the things that must be there according to the Islamic law. And for this, actually, we remember this statement, brother, problem in Hong Kong. When some people go to the streets and they say, the banks here, when they let us sign, the things were not clear and the contracts were not clear. Yes.
What does the Sharia say about purely following a madhab?
Purely
Following a school of
Madhab.
Like, you know, so I see people, everyone plays differently, or doing wudu differently, as you said. And surely those scholars, the imams who started those laws, they used something to base those narrations.
Yes, you are right.
They followed the hadiths. So is it right for us to purely follow the school of thought and not go back to the hadiths ourselves and just say, yeah, I'm just going to follow the school of thought? And
It's not only for follow a certain school of thought, because as you just mentioned now, it depends upon certain narrations. And for sure, those schools of thought or those great scholars, they depend upon something. Or they depend upon certain things of the Prophet. Going back to the hadith by ourselves, as me or you, I think we are not qualified enough to how to say, to know everything, whether this hadith is I will follow it that way. Because actually for a Muslim scholar, like Abu Hanifa or Ahmad bin Hanbal or those great scholars, they have the knowledge that they can compare between this and that. It's not only that I pick one hadith from a certain book and I stick to it. Because even sometimes I or you, we might read it in a different way or not in the correct way. And we might have knowledge, we don't have knowledge about the other hadith that has been said on that. Or even the meaning, even in Arabic actually, it might have different shades of meaning. Yes?
I understand, but then let's, like for instance, praying here or down in the name.
I ask you a question, simple question.